People can't see your loud face. They just hear your loud voice. And so I realized that my podcasting expression was very different to my video message expression. And I started understanding and having to decide, was I going to do video podcasts or was I going to do microphone podcasts? And you guys really need to decide that from the get-go, because it really changes your expression. When you know you're on video, you will tend to put a lot of your message in your vocal cues, in your face cues, in your hand gestures, and it just doesn't come through on audio. If somebody's just listening to it, they may get the bulk of the message, but they miss all the little bits and pieces. So without my face to tell half my story, or my hands, you know how I am, I'm always like so dramatic. Like without any of that and just the voice, I had to learn to do something wild. I had to learn to slow down. I had to learn to use my words properly. And so Mike and I, oh my goodness, at the beginning, Mike being my producer, he had to this poor guy, he had to go and edit out. We had to take out a bunch of blah, blah. We still have to do that. But through the process, we reached nearly 500,000 profits with our podcast. And I'm so excited about that. And what we've learned, I want to pass on to you, because podcasting reaches a very different audience. For all of those who are jumping in online, I actually have the Restream going here on my computer so I can see everybody's comments. Let me see here. So I can see you chatting and jumping in. So if you jump in, I can say something. But podcasting reaches a very different audience, guys. So even though you might have a landing page, even though you might have a YouTube channel, or even though you might have written a book, podcasting is its own stream entirely. Now, for all my lady friends out there, this is a reason why you want to podcast. Yeah, you're going to love this, girls. You can do it in your sweats. You don't have to brush your hair. You don't have to put on makeup. You don't have to pretend that, had enough sleep. Nobody going to see the bags under your eyes. I tell you what, listen, I'm going to get real with you. There are times that I don't do a live on social media just because I take one look in the mirror and go, I don't feel like touching up my makeup. I just don't feel like doing it. And then I know that if I record it and leave it up there on social media, I'm going to stumble across and be irritated with myself. So I'm always in this, like, Angela and I are always laughing about that, aren't we, Angela? When I come to our coaching sessions, we always laugh about our hair being put up in a cap or something. But you see, podcasting, I mean pure podcasting. And we already spoke in the last session how you can podcast using a microphone or on camera. But podcasting just with the microphone reaches a completely different audience. And I need you to understand that. Now, why don't you guys go ahead, put in the chat box. Hi, Tammy, I see you're online there. Put in the chat box how you study best. Are you somebody who studies best by video, by audio, or are you better by watching pictures? Are you better listening? Are you better reading? Are you a mix of both? Which would you say you're best at? Reading and taking notes, Christy says. I'm the same, Christy. Mix of both. Austin says reading and listening. Very good. Very, very good. You see, we retain information very differently, right? And so when you put out a podcast that goes on Spotify, that goes on, Apple Podcasts, all over the place, you're reaching an entire audience of people who prefer to listen. Now catch this with me. I've been selling books now, oh my goodness, 4 years, okay? And yet I'll make more money on my Audible books now, if I actually sat long enough to record every single one of them, than I am on my printed books. I put a couple through their AI voice very quickly. Just some of my small ones, they're selling like crazy. What does that tell you about where the world is at right now? What does that tell you where we at in our attention span right now? It tells me that people are turning more and more to listening rather than to reading, than to sitting and watching long videos. Now, in the day, back in the day, I could put out a 1-2 hour teaching on YouTube and it would get tens of thousands. Some of them got hundreds of thousands of downloads. But now, such a long teaching does not have that kind of audience retention, you guys. Nobody wants to sit and watch a 2-hour teaching, not unless it's a lecture and it's in one of my schools and you're going to get graded and you're going to get some kind of reward for it. That is why podcasting is becoming an entire different audience on its own, but there are rules to it. Just like there are rules for video, there are rules for being an author. That is what Launch You is all about. For those of you just joining us online, this is a Launch You session. I'm doing this as a gift to the body of Christ, and we're discussing podcasting. Launch You is all about launching your voice for authors who want to be authors in writing their books and in publishing their voice in podcasts and in video as well. Now, podcasting, when you just look at the purity of it, I want you to understand how powerful your voice is. Your voice is powerful. Let me prove it to you. Have you ever watched a dubbed movie? Have you ever watched a dubbed movie? Right? And they're trying to lip sync over, and the person's voice is not matching the actual character in the movie. We had this a lot of times in South Africa because they would show things in Zulu and in English and then in Afrikaans. And oh my goodness, they'd put this Afrikaans voice over Spider-Man. Oh, my favorite, the Zulu voice over Spider-Man. Craig says it better. He knew the whole intro. And so I'm watching Spider-Man speak Zulu. And the guy who was doing the voiceover just didn't have the same personality. It fell flat. For the first time in my life, Spider-Man was the most boring superhero ever. Why? Because there was no power in the voice. The entire movie fell flat because there was no power in the voice. Your voice is more important than you can possibly realize. And when you put on a headphone and you close your eyes, and you're listening to someone speak to you as if you would on your cell phone, you make a heart connection. You see, when I'm watching this screen, and for those of you who are watching me online, you know that there's a whole bunch of people watching me at the same time. We're in a whole class. So you feel like maybe you can hide from what I'm saying, right? Because you're just part of the audience. But when you podcast correctly, you're talking to one person. And when that person puts on their headphones and they're listening to you speak to them, it's just the two of you in that room. And so podcasting gives you a connection, an emotional and spiritual connection with your audience that writing may not, that videos may not. Your voice is more important than you can imagine. The timbre of your voice is as unique as your fingerprint. Did you know that if you did a podcast and I needed to identify your voice, that your voice's waves and the way that it operates and vibrates is completely unique to you. There's no two of you in this whole world. That's why we can use tools to identify songs and voices, and they can pick up whose it is, because it is that unique. So I want to give you a couple of steps on how to put your content together. Last time I told you how to start your podcast, okay? For those of you who are already enrolled in Launch You, that teaching is already up if you missed it. And you can look at the steps. Mike did a great job in even giving us some of the equipment we needed, how to set your schedule, what platforms and systems you should use. We did all that boring stuff. But what I want to talk to you are five very simple aspects to the content of your podcast. Let me say this, your introduction is everything. You have 3 seconds. 3 seconds, my friend, to capture your audience. If they're really patient and they're really interested in your topic, they may go a little longer. Your introduction is everything. Now, you're going to do 2 kinds of intro. I touched on this last time. The one that I gave you was homework to do for the overall podcast. But the intro I'm talking about here is the one ahead of every single podcast. You need to script yourself. For those of you who listen to the Next Gen Profits podcast, it sounds a little bit like this. You're listening to the Next Gen Profits podcast. We're your hosts, Craig and Colette Toch, right? And then it depended on what season of the podcast we were in, we changed our tagline while we were learning. It was like the Next Gen Prophets, we are a mindset, not an age group. We're here to accelerate your prophetic process. It adapted over the years as we were still finding out and figuring ourselves out. But the point was, when you know exactly who your audience is, you want to keep that intro short, sharp, and to the point. And here's something you need for that intro. Tell them who you are. I don't know about you, but I go through Spotify and I'm clicking all over the place. I don't even know what I'm listening to half the time. And I'm like, who is this again? What am I listening to again? You want to start strong. Introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Angela Martin. And this is the Let's Get Real with Angela podcast. And what am I going to do for you? I'm going to help you with this. You're going to come in strong. To keep up to date with us, you can find me on my webpage, getrealwithangela.com. Just record your happy little intro and you're done. Now, a lot of people, they just record that as a template, or you can re-say it every time. Craig and I just learned to re-say it every time because we traveled so much while we were podcasting, which is another huge plus, by the way. Equipment is so easy for a podcast. You can do it on the road. Dalton was reminding me this of Mike. He was reminding me, I think we were somewhere in Georgia, I think it was Blue Ridge. I don't know where we were. We'd come home really late from a meeting and we were like, guys, we haven't got a podcast for tomorrow. So there we were, like at midnight or 1 a.m, sitting in this lounge in an Airbnb, setting up all the equipment to do our podcast so that we could get it uploaded in time. But the thing is, because podcasting is that affordable and easy, we could do it on the run. Nobody had to know. So your intro is very, very important. Keep it the same, keep it simple, and make it clear what your podcast is about. And guys, please, please, please send them to your landing page. Send them to your landing page. Send them somewhere to stay connected with you. You know, it was one thing to get all those downloads of podcasts. That was great. But what was better when people wrote in? For those of you who listen, remember how we would always say, come on, guys, chat us on the nextgenprophets.org. We want to know your name. Right in. Do you know how many people wrote in sharing their names, sharing their stories, engaging with us? And that was fantastic because in the next podcast, we could share their story with our audience as well. And that is how you grow engagement. So please direct them to your landing page. Don't forget to say it at the beginning. Don't make the mistake of thinking you're going to leave it for last. You and I both know you press stop when you start hearing the outro. Nobody ever listens to the end. Not even your friends, not even your husband or wife, not even the people that really love you. The minute they start hearing you wind down and end your topic, they stop, right? Okay, so make sure you say it in 2 places. You want to mention your URL at the beginning and again in the middle. So if this was a podcast, it'd be this, myapostolicmentor.com. For those of you who are just signing in and listening, we are sharing. Michael and I are collaborating to help launch your voice through your podcast channel. Here are some things to do. Here are some things not to do. And if you want to continue in these workshops every month, you want to be coached live by us, www.myapostolicmentor.com. It's that easy. You can do it. Point 2, I've got 5 quick points, and then Michael's going to jump straight into marketing with us. Storytelling is key. How many of you are still seeing us at midnight, 1 a.m, sitting in the lounge, podcasting for our next show? For those of you who were there in our last session, how many of you still see me podcasting in my jammies? How many of you are seeing yourself without makeup podcasting? Storytelling is the secret to a good podcast. You see, what they can't see in visuals in the video, they're going to see in their own minds. And that is the magic of podcasting. It's what I love the most about it, is that I can use my voice to create a world in someone's mind where they are the lead character and I am the one facilitating their story. It is the most powerful experience you can have with somebody else, to know that you are taking their hand on a journey with them. If you don't know how to tell stories, go back to what I taught you in Launch You. Go through that reading list and go back and restudy. Storytelling is key. I would highly recommend that you begin your podcast with a strong statement, like I taught you last time, and then go straight into a story. You will capture people with, especially if they're listening. Okay, so I have a story for you guys on that one. So when I was a little girl, I don't know, maybe I'm showing my age here, but when I was a little girl, I used to listen to stories on the radio, or I'd listen to stories on vinyl. Now, my parents had got us this vinyl story, and it was Charity Church Mouse with the Church Mouse Choir. That was I know my daughter's looking at me like, who named this child's story? It was important to me and part of my upbringing, Jessica. Look at this. She's busy glaring at me behind the camera. It was a long time ago. We're little. And I wasn't allowed to watch TV, and there wasn't a whole lot available. So that's what we got. I got Charity Church Mouse and the Church Mouse Choir. And we would put that on. And I remember I'd go on my tummy on the carpet in the lounge, and I'd close my eyes. And I was there with Charity Church Mouse, right? And I could quote every single line of that childhood story, but we were best friends. I knew everything about her. It was such a real experience for me. And that is the power of podcasting, guys. It's a real experience. When you tell stories, you take people. I still remember the stories. I remember the songs. Did you guys ever listen to the radio when they did storytelling on the radio? And I would listen, and I would close my eyes, and they would dramatize everything, and I would be there. I would be there more than in a movie. And we still have that power as podcasters, all right? So storytelling is key. Next, you're speaking to one person. I can always tell, listen, I can always tell when a pastor decided, I'm preaching on Sunday. I'm not reaching as many people as I'd like to reach. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start a podcast channel, and I'm just going to throw up my sermons. I mean, it's a great way to just list your teachings on a very cheap, affordable system. But you and I both know that if you're wanting a true podcasting experience, nobody wants to listen to him drone through the announcements and mention people at church and thank you for coming so and so, and you know that you're an outsider, kind of like a peeping tom into their church service. It's a weird feeling. You don't feel a part. You really don't feel like you belong there. So when you're podcasting, remember you're speaking to an audience of one. My authors out there, isn't that what I teach you in your books? You're not writing to the masses, even though you are. Your voice should always be directed to the singular, to that one person with that one need. Now, for those of you who are prophets, this is why it's so powerful. When you close your eyes and you begin speaking into the life of the one, the Lord will, in the spirit, position that one in front of you, and you will get revelation for their lives. I can't tell you how many times Craig and I were on that microphone, and I would just feel these words come to me so strongly and say, and I'm speaking to somebody very particular. You're doing this. You're going through this. God needs you to do this. Okay. And they would write in and say, you were speaking to me. Or I'd end up meeting them and say, you were speaking to me. Because I was always speaking to the one. Whether, I can't tell you how many times people told us, I just binge listened your entire couple of hundred. I mean, we're nearly up to 500. No, I think we're over. No, we're almost at 500 episodes. Or we passed 500 now, Mike. We passed. So Deb and Mike have really gone past 5. I'm like, who binge listens to that many episodes? But they did, because they felt like they knew us. They felt like they were the only person in the room. You want that kind of connection. So you always speak to one person. Number 4, create the anticipation. Don't tell them the answer at the beginning. All right, so have you ever had this? My husband does this to me, drive me crazy. I'll be speaking to my son, and I'll be trying to challenge him with a question, right? Like I'll give him a math equation, or I'll be asking him a grammatical question. And then Craig answers. I'm like, baby, I actually knew the answer, but I wanted Michael to give me the answer. It wasn't about getting the answer. It was about him giving me the answer. You know people like that? Yeah, exactly. Well, Don't do that on your podcast. Don't give them the answer, guys. Don't make the promise and ask the question and then answer it immediately. They're not listening to the rest of your podcast. They're like, oh, well, that's what I came for. Bye. No, you you got to come in strong. Come in strong with your podcast promise. Come in strong at the beginning with what you are going to teach them. I came in strong telling you guys, I've got 5 tier points for the content in your podcast. Next, Mike is going to come up and he is going to teach you how to market your podcast so that you can reach hundreds of thousands of listeners. You have it in you. You have the potential in you. You are following and tracking all 5 of my points. You don't want to lose out because you want the numbers, you want the downloads, and you want to monetize. So you're going to listen to me. You're going to listen to me. Let me help you out. If you position yourself with a really excellent promise and you drop enough of an answer throughout your podcast, your listener will follow all the way through. But if all you did is come to a podcast so you can blah, blah at them and talk about yourself and talk about how great you are, you will lose them in the first 10 seconds. Your podcast is not about you. It's about the one. It's about you. You see, I'm talking to you about launching your podcast. I'm teaching you the principles you need to become successful. These aren't for me. And when you can get that mind shift, you're going to grow your audience organically, all right? And then number 5, be diligent. So another story, as Craig and I progressed with the Next Gen Profits podcast, I mean, God had opened so many other doors. And then he started saying to us, you need to begin handing things over to Deb and Mike. And there was this very awkward transition between going from where we launched and we birthed this ministry to now handing it over. And in that time, we didn't get to podcast as often. We went down the number of podcasts that we did. And guess what happened? Well, for those of you listening, you know exactly what happened. You stopped listening. Why? Because you weren't sure that if you showed up, if we'd show up. We also had another issue where we changed platforms. This was the worst of it. I don't know if any of you had this with the Libsyn. We changed platforms and we lost all of our Apple subscribers, all of them. And we had like, what, 10,000 or something ridiculous. And actually, it was more than that. We lost all of those subscribers when we moved over. So if you were a subscriber, and then we had to do our channel again. But by then, with that break, they felt like we had abandoned them. And we had to start it all the way up from the beginning again. And that's why diligence in anything. Show up every Sunday if you're a pastor. Come on. Show up. Show up. If you're a writer, show up to write. If you're a podcaster, show up to podcast and make sure that that podcast is indeed up on every Wednesday, every Thursday, every one day of the month. Whatever you're going to do, make sure you show up. So work on your intro. Storytelling is key. Speak to one person. Create anticipation. Build it up. Don't give them everything at the beginning. Build it up throughout the podcast. Be diligent. Here's one more little point. Like I said, people don't want to listen to a 2-hour sermon. Like what I'm teaching you here, no way I'd do it like this in a podcast. I'd be done already. Jessica says that. It says the cards are full, Jessica. If my video just stopped, it's because she said we're working on this. Don't worry about it. I'm about to hand over to Mike. No problem. But the length of your podcast is important. You don't want it to go too long, okay? We did ours for 15 minutes because we're doing 3 of them a week. You can get away with having it a little longer. I've seen those that do 1 hour long podcasts, but they're very riveting and they're usually interview based. If you are direct to mic, like Craig and I often did, you want to keep it shorter. People are not listening to long sermons unless you're really, really, really charismatic and engaging and are teaching them a topic. Like I'd listen to Myron Golden for that long. But there's not a single wasted space in his teaching. I mean, he goes from one thing to the other. I don't want to miss anything of what he has to say because it has so much value, right? So then you better do that. But if you're just starting out, there's no way that you're going to have solid, riveting content for an hour unless you've got a really good guest on your show, right? But if you're doing direct to mic, start with 15 minutes, increase yourself to 20, and see what your audience retention is like. All right, I said that as quick as possible. Mike, I cut into all your time, but I hope you were taking notes. For those of you online, please post, share, ask your questions. I'll be watching the questions as Mike begins speaking, so that way I'll be able to help you guys along. With that being said, Jessica, let us switch that, or Rebecca, I should say, let's switch that over to Mike. And Mike, please take the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Apostle. Appreciate that. Welcome, guys, to Launch You. And this is part 2. So if you have not caught part 1, go back, watch part 1, then get a hold and start with part 2, okay? But look at me, show me your eyes, wave at me, you're with me. Very good. I am gonna be going pretty deep today. I'm gonna be starting a study of the psychological marketing backgrounds of podcasting. Podcasting is easy, podcasting is good, it is fresh, but I want you to write this down, okay? There is power in my voice. Write it down, each and every single one of you. That's gonna be at the top. Right at the top of your notepad, you're gonna write, there is power in my voice. Because today, I'm gonna be looking at a model framework from a very, very, very branded and marketing aspect. It's called See, Think, Do, Care. See, Think, Do, Care. A framework model by Avinash Kaushik. Okay? He was a marketing director at Google. And what he did is he branded and he began this model framework of seeing, thinking, doing, and caring. And I'm going to relate this in an aspect to each and every single one of you Launch You applicants right now, and to those watching online for your podcast. We're going to start with C, the C stage, aka awareness. C stage is awareness. This is the broad aspect. This is your biggest circle out of them all. This is your goal. Your goal is what in your podcast? To reach the largest possible relevant audience that you can. The mindset of these people in the broad aspect is that they don't know you yet. Everybody on this earth doesn't know you. Hence the podcast, to launch the power of your voice, to get you out there. This audience, the broadest audience, they don't know you, guys. They're not looking to buy anything, but they are watching you. They want to see what you are up to, who you are. What is this? Who is this Next Gen Profits podcast? What are they about? I don't want to buy anything yet, but I'm seeing from the outside. I'm aware that you're coming onto my Facebook feeds. I'm aware that you're in my email box. I'm aware that you're there. The content for you, podcast producer, is entertaining. It's also very inspirational. You want to be inspirational in how you present to those that don't know you. You want to inspire them. You want to get encouragement from them. You want to entertain them to draw them back, right? There's zero selling when you're talking to a seer, because you're creating brand awareness right now for your podcast. Step number 1, you see, it's awareness. Your C stage is awareness. All we're doing is we're just putting our feelers out there. We're just getting out to see who's gonna bite, okay? Example of this, TikTok Reels. Huge feeler, huge TikTok Reels. Blog posts, if you write blogs, I know Angela, she writes blogs a lot. If you write a blog, it's the same concept. You write into a large audience to see who's gonna bite. Who's gonna call to action at the end? Who's gonna click on that subscribe for more button, okay? Top of the funnel podcasts are stories. As you're sharing, your podcasts are going to start, like Apostle Colette said, be deliberate. You're going to continue to post. You're going to continue to be on the C stage. Okay? Next, think. We're going to go to thinking. The think stage is consideration. Now your big circle from this awareness came down to consideration. It gets smaller. The goal is to engage those that are interested. Now you see the fish are starting to bite that little bait right now. They're interested. but they're not ready to act yet. The content focus, especially for podcasts, is thought leadership, problem solving. You're going to start looking to brand soft CTAs. Hey, reply back to this email. I sent it out to 8,000 people, but I promise you this, out of 8,000 people, I'm going to get 50 people that are going to reply. See, my wide net became consideration. Awareness, consideration. It's going to come closer. The fish are biting onto that podcast because they want to know more. You see, in part one, we spoke about how your title, how your podcast episodes are going to grab their attention. The content, the service that you have is that they need. They want it. Now you're going to amplify all of that in your marketing and in your digital marketing and in your podcast marketing. And you're going to say, now you are considering. You're not ready to act on anything yet, but you're considering it. I'm going to soft sell. Just reply back to this email. Give me your name. Write in a takeaway. Write in a testimony. Subscribe. Subscribe to my Spotify. Subscribe to my Apple Podcast so you hear it everywhere. Very soft, very subtle. You don't want to overact and you don't want to overpush or oversell in those two circles, okay? Now, some examples of these. Comparison articles. You want to look at articles that are short, sharp, to the point. You've already done your brand awareness. You've already reached a large audience. The people that are considering, you want to get articles that reach them through podcasting. So it's the same concept. Through your podcast, how can you relate an article that you wrote, make it into a podcast? Remember, we spoke about that in the first launch. You can write blogs, you can write books, you can write everything, and then you can relate them to your podcast. It's the same concept. When you grab the audience's attention and you're going to pull them in, you're going to say, there it is, the webinar that I always wanted. Come listen to this podcast. We are going to talk about the how-tos. It's a soft CTA. How to be a prophet. How to do this. What to do when this happens. What happens when this, etc. Soft CTAs. Soft considerations and acts. Next, the do stage. I love these last two circles of this framework model because the do stage is your conversion. It's my favorite part, actually. My absolute favorite part. The goal of a conversion is what, guys? To push, to act, or to purchase. In your podcast, you want to push, to act, or purchase what you are telling them to do. Go and buy this book. Today's podcast is based on Prophetic Bootcamp by Apostle Colette Toach. Now, in the show notes, you are going to see the links to go and purchase these books. Or you can go to ColetteToachStore.com. Automatically, you have a place to go. You have a call to action. The mindset of the people in the circle, they've already gone through the first two stages. The mindset of this is, I want this. Now it's up to you to convince me. Why do I need to get Prophetic Bootcamp? What is the purpose of getting Prophetic Bootcamp? Listen to the audience. Everybody's podcast has a message. Everybody's podcast has a call to action for what you want the person to do. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. That is a strong call to action. Go to my landing page. We spoke about landing pages. Go to my landing page, subscribe to my mailing list where you can read all my blogs, you can get all my books, you can go through everything that you want to read, all the past resources, all the past audio materials. Go there. Your content focus is clear CTAs. Offers, landing pages, testimonials. What is your call to action? A CTA is a call to action. You have a service that the buyer wants, that the person listening to your podcast has. How are you going to retain them? How are you going to convince them? How are you going to tell them that this is what they need? They just don't know it yet. That's what you're going to do in your podcast for the do stage. You're going to get that conversion. You want the people that are currently they're thinking about it, they're considering it, to act. The thinkers need to act at this stage. Okay? Examples over here for the doing stage, of course, is your podcast episodes must have strong call to actions. Enroll today. Download this guide. This is your 5-step workout routine. Get it here. Go here. Do this. You want to get them to achieve something from your podcast. Lastly, I know I'm going fast, but you guys are good. You guys are writing it down. I see the action. I'm moving fast on purpose because we have a lot to cover in the psychological backbone of podcasting. The care stage, this is the final stage. This is after they've downloaded your ebook, they've downloaded your workout regime. You're in the care stage. This is the loyalty and retention stage. Here, this is the main goal is to nurture the relationship post conversion. You want to grab them in the conversion. Now you've sold them that ebook, you've sold them that landing page, you've sold them that workout guide. Now you have to nurture them. You've got to keep up continually to show up. Like Apostle said, you have to show up every single week. If you podcast once a week, every single week, you got to show up. You got to continue to reach that broad audience, narrow down till you get your loyalists. I love my loyalists. I love how loyal they are to me and my podcast, and they listen diligently, and they're able to be deliberate in downloading every product that we recommend. They deliberate in listening to past podcasts that we recommend. Because what? The goal is to nurture. You're going to nurture that relationship. You're going to tell them to write in. You're going to tell them to continue to build a relationship with you. Because here's why. This is my favorite part too. Like I said, these last two, they're the best. When you care as a podcast producer, as a podcaster, when you host the events, your listeners will start to show up. We have reached 198 countries around the world. There's literally a podcast listener in almost every single country. Every single continent has a podcast listener. And that's a lot of people. That's a lot of country. That is a lot. So when we're saying, oh, we're going to come over to Australia to host a graduation, guess what? We have people in Australia that listen to our podcast. They know who we are. We have alumni that are there already. We have tribe members that are there already. We have people that are dedicated, that are loyal followers of our podcast there. Oh, I need to go to Europe. I want to go to Austria. Guess what? We have people in Austria too, and Italy and Switzerland and France and Belgium and Germany. Wow, look at that. A whole European conference just formed by our podcast listeners. Not even the people in our schools or in our businesses, just by our podcast listeners. Do you see the power of marketing and grabbing them and keeping them? You're starting to develop the nature of the mindset that these guys have is, I trusted you. Now you have to retain them by saying, was I right? Was I right to trust you? Was I right to dedicate my time and my effort to follow you? As a podcaster, you have to keep them engaged. You need to give back to your community. You need to give back to those that are listening. You need to continue to nurture. Man. People that are in the content focuses that are looking at these, this is where they're at. They want support. They want community. They want to delight. They want the personalization. You know, last time I spoke about when you're podcasting, you're not talking to a whole group of people. You're talking to one person. There's only one Michael listening to the podcast. There's no 5 me's. There's no 100 me's. There's just one person putting in their headphones, walking on a treadmill, enjoying their little workout while they listen to the Next Gen Prophets podcast hosted by Michael and Deborah Ann Folthazen. Then they're listening to the impartation. They're listening to the prophetic insight. They're listening to what's going on. We're going to have another podcast tour coming up. It's going to be crazy. They're listening. They're engaged. But I'm not talking to a community. I'm talking to one. But you are now part of a community. You see the difference? You are now becoming a part of something. You are now becoming involved with the community. That is why the care stage and the do stage are the most 2 important parts of the see, think, do, and care model framework, because you have to continue to be deliberate to follow up. Here is where you're going to do all your follow-ups. Every single time that we do podcasts, we create people that sign up to our mailing list. You want to go through and do follow-up emails. Hey guys, have you heard this week's latest episode? You see, you already got them to your landing page. They were aware, they considered, now they're thinking about it, now they're acting on it, they bought it, they've subscribed to your mailing list, you've got them. You've got their email. Now you're gonna send out an email again to all your community and you're gonna say, have you listened to this week's podcast? Man, we brought on a special guest, Apostle Colette Toach. Whatever the podcast is about, we brought her in, come and listen. Here, receive your impartation today. Your life changed because of this circumstance. You want your next breakthrough? Here's how, with Apostle Colette Toach. And just by doing that, you're retaining the information, you're retaining the people that are already there, while still reaching out your net. You see, the model of see, think, do, and care, it never stops. Every single episode that you do, work it out in stages, and that's where I'm moving next. You're gonna work it out to basically audit your podcasts. Sounds crazy, but hopefully you guys are following me, you're writing this down. I'm moving fast on purpose because you're all here in Launch You, you're all ready, we're going tough and we're going strong. Audit your current library in stages. Ask yourself these questions. Which episodes are purely inspirational and attention grabbing? Which stage does that fit into? The C. That fits into the C stage, right? Which episodes out of my library right now are purely inspirational and attention grabbing? Which ones solve problems and actually educate with the depth? That's the think. You got to get them to think. Which ones include a CTA like buy now, sign up here, download this? Well, that's the doing stage. Which ones follow up and nurture and talk to your existing community? Well, obviously, that's the care stage. Your library is never going to leave those four. It's always, always, always going to have those four. Whether it's in order or whether you are deliberately making it that you're starting at C, you're moving to think, you're going to do, and now you don't care. You're never going to leave that framework because you want the framework to continue to nurture your audience, grab those in the inner circle, and then grab those in the outer net. Like all the fish, they want some bait. Throw out your fishing rod, reel in some fish, keep those fish, let them live. Don't kill them, don't eat them. We want to keep the fish we catch, okay? Please. Now go and cast your net again. Cast it to the other side of the boat, okay? Because here you want to go kind of crazy, if you could say that, to the thinking and the doing part. The caring part is once you grab them, but you got to think about your podcast listeners and then let them act upon it, let them do, okay? Last time I spoke about designing your content with intent. Listen, guys, this is key. This is the creme de la creme right here. Design the content that you're about to release with intent in a calendar. Remember last time I spoke about how you need to get your 5 to 10 episodes up already so that you have a baseline of what you are actually going to be talking about. Put them on a storyboard, put them on a notion of saying, these are the first 5 episodes. This is the theme of the week. This is the track that I'm going on. Now I'm going to do it with the intent. Week number 1 is a C, right? Remember, we're going to start wide. We're going to narrow in. Week number 1 is the C. It's story-based or inspirational podcast. No selling, just value. Now we move on to week number 2. Come on. Thinking part, right? You're going to dive into a problem. A problem arose. You're going to find that problem. You're going to dive into it. You're going to explore the solutions, maybe introduce a soft CTA. Hey guys, I created a new landing page for thenextgenprophets.org. Go and check it out. Write back to me and let me know what you think. I didn't tell you anything else. All I said is go and check it out. I didn't even say sign up. I just say go and check it out, tell me what you think. That means you have the option now to write back to me and say, man, Mike, that website is really cool. Or I was going through the website and there are some notable errors that need to be fixed. You know what? I expect both because as podcast producers, we want the good, the bad, and the ugly. We need to be real with who we are. We need to be real with who's listening to us and who's aware of where we're at. Week number 3, doing part. This is your testimonial episode. This is where you are directly talking to them. It's a direct pitch. And you're going to provide either a free product or you're going to provide a free service. You can say, if you sign up to my mailing list, you're going to get 2 ebooks for free. Come, sign up to my mailing list and I'll give you I'm Not Crazy I'm a Prophet by Apostle Colette Toach. Sign up to my mailing list and I will give you a brand new course that was released by Prophet Deborah Ann Fontes on prophetic types. Sign up here, sign up there. And now you're starting to make them do. You're going to act upon. That's just 3 weeks, guys. And you already have a mailing list established. You already have an awareness established. You already have marketed it so well that people are signing up by the thousands. Week number 4 is the care. Here's a bonus episode for those that are already in, that are supporting you. They are your supporters. This is your community. This is your episode where you get to do the Q&As. You get to do your shout outs. Hey guys, man, Andrea got on the phone with me today and she just shared a great testimony about how her pastor got a hold of her and told her that she's now the lead intercessor of her church. Can you believe that? Man, what a journey she has been on. I have to get her on my podcast next week so you can hear what she had to go through to get there. Tune in next week. It's just a bonus fun episode where you're grabbing in your podcast listeners and calling them in, giving those shout outs. Remember, this is the model. I want you guys to make your takeaways on the model that it is based off of, okay? So, number 1, key takeaways. I want you guys to write this down. Key takeaways. You cannot market to everybody all at once. You can't market everything to everyone at once. It's impossible. You can't do that. You're never going to reach anybody. You're basically going to cast your net and catch no fish whatsoever. Be deliberate. Be deliberate. Be deliberate. Okay? Build content for intent, not demographs. How are you going to be intentional? What are you going to do intentionally for the people? Build your content for intent. Okay? When you match content to the mindset, the conversion feels natural. Next Gen Prophets, it's not an age group, it's a mindset. Right? You can be 80 years old and you'll have a Next Gen Prophets mindset. We have some Next Gen Prophets that are 80 years old, 15 years old that are writing in saying, this podcast blew my mind. So I'm going from 80 to 15. Look at that demographic, guys. It's unheard of. Why? Because of my strongest tagline that there ever was, built on intent. Next Gen Prophets, it's not an age group. There's no number. It's not an age group. It's a mindset. Everybody has a mindset for intent. Everybody has a mindset to grow in their call. Everybody has a mindset to know what the best workout is to lose belly fat. Everybody knows that there's a mindset that is created for intent. Use it, because now you're matching that mindset of, man, I really like this Next Gen Prophets podcast. I want to know more. Well, it's a natural conversion then. They're going to go to your landing page because you mentioned it in your podcast. They're going to sign up to that mailing list, get those free products that you promised them, and then guess what? They will stick around because you have loyalists. You care about them. Okay? The see, the think, the do, and the care isn't a funnel. Don't think of it like a funnel at all. Don't think about, in marketing, when we funnel, this is completely different. Do never think of it as a funnel. Okay? It is a relational roadmap. This framework for your podcast is all about relationships. Everything that you're studying, everything that you're going through, everything that you're applying in your podcast is all about relationship. When Deborah and I get behind a mic, I'm not talking to thousands of prophets. I'm talking to you, Angela, Rebecca, Jodia, Christy, Austin. I'm talking to you because you're going through something. We as prophets, just going a little bit to the spiritual side, since I am a prophet and I love the Lord. As prophets, sometimes we, like Apostle said, we would get these downloads mid-podcast and we'll be like, Stephanie is listening to this podcast. I heard the Spirit of the Lord say to you, Stephanie, prophetic word. Midway through, because you start to get a relationship going with each and every single one of those podcast listeners. So, see, think, do, care, model framework, relationship roadmap. Don't forget, guys, map out your episodes before and after to these 4 stages. You can even, if you have a library of 500 episodes, 200 episodes, whatever it may be, if you mapped it out and you have that many, go back and select the episodes that you think are in the see, the think, the do, and the care, and put them in there. Put each and every single one of them in categories so that you for yourself know what stage to go into next, okay? You can build a series off of this. You can go back to your first episode to your 80th episode, and all that it will be and all that you'll know is that there is the first awareness. You would see it's all about awareness. Just those first 80 episodes, that's already a series, that's already a group. All right? Then use your analytics. Launch you analytics. This is your baby, baby, baby. Never, ever, 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 ever stop looking at analytics. Analytics is what you dream about. Analytics is the first thing you wake up before you even kiss your wife. You're going to think about the analytics. You're going to say, look, I love you, baby, but I'm looking at the analytics on trust my wife's looking at me, and it's the truth. I've done that multiple days, multiple times. About to start a marriage conflict here. It's like analytics works, guys. Analytics is key. It's your baby. You got to nurture it. You got to see what is hitting that felt need. Who is listening to the service? Who is biting that fishing rod and my bait? Who can I reel in right now? Where is my podcast going? Is it tanking? Is it going up? Man, I just got 10,000 new followers. That is huge. That's incredible. We're going to celebrate those wins, right? Because I'm watching my analytics. I'm not letting my analytics just build, sit, sift away into the dark abyss of the internet. No, I'm intentionally watching the analytics. As podcast producers, analytics is basically your work wife. You never, ever, 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 ever stop looking at it. It's the same as doing a landing page. You do 10% every single day. You build that landing page, you do 10% every single day. We call it the 10-cent rule. For a podcast, you basically never stop looking at it. But for your website, every single day you do 10% work. And it's the same concept here, okay? Another takeaway I want you guys to remember is don't rush people to the doing part. You will lose them. Before they've had time to think, you want to make sure that you go from see to think, not from see to do. Be intentional about how are you going to grab them. How are you going to say the buy now in the podcast, the sign up to my mailing list. Be intentional with what you're doing. If you rush the person you just do, you're going to lose them right off the bat. Oh, you just came up on my email that says Next Gen Profits. What is that? Oh, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. Do this, do this. I will exit that right now. And I'll go to the next podcast. Because you never grabbed my attention first and you never made me think to even consider, okay? I have 2 more points and then I'll begin to wrap out. Your outro and call to action. Invite listeners to even listen to what they have gone through, not just that one episode. If you're doing a series, tell them, go back to part 1. I've referenced part 1 5 times throughout this lecture on purpose because I know that people are not going to watch part 1. They're going to jump to part 2 and they'll be like, oh, and I missed this. Yes, you did. Go back to part 1. Go back, learn, study, develop what was told and imparted to you in part 1 of the series so that when we come to part 8 of the series, you're not lost and confused. Always refer back. Always be intentional and invite your listeners to go back to part 1, go back to the beginning so that they can get the right mindset and the right intent to convert them later on. Because you never know who's going to listen to your podcast. Like Apostle Colette said, we've had people literally start at episode 1 and binge. Like 100 episodes in a day. It was crazy. And then the next day, they did another 100. And then the next day, they did another 100. I mean, that's unheard of. But they just couldn't stop because it hit them on that felt need. It hit them and they converted. Be intentional. CTA. Pick one stage and optimize your content for that podcast. Just pick one CTA if you must. As you pick that one CTA, Is it subscription? Is it looking at a blog that you wrote? Is it getting a free book? Is it giving them the first 10 chapters of your new book? Is it signing up? What is it? Focus. Focus that one thing, okay? Tease them. The last call to action that you can do is to tease. Sounds terrible, but as podcasters, remember, you're listening. People like to be teased. People like to hear jokes. People like to laugh. So, tease them with the next episode. Give them hints. Give them a little taster of what's about to come. Do you know, prophets of God, that next week Apostle Colette Tosh is joining us in the podcast studio? You do not want to miss that episode. I didn't tell you what the episode was about. I never mentioned that at all. All I said is a guest speaker, Apostle Colette Tosh, is in our podcast studio. Wow, what is she about to bring? Now you're ready to know next week's going to be a fire episode. So, before we end over here on branding and marketing, your podcast name and logo, clear, memorable, relevant. Very clear, very memorable, very relevant. Episode titles, descriptive and keyword rich. Look, I can go into whole other teachings on SEO and keyword rich, but that's a lot. For right now today, make sure that your episode titles are to the point, they're clear, people can understand them, and it grabs their attention, okay? Show notes for podcasters include summaries, links, and if you have guests, add their shows, links, bios, who they are as well. Promotional strategies, of course, always share on social media, use the See, Think, Do, Care model as you promote. It's the same thing for digital branding as it is for podcasting, okay? Create podcast schedules ahead of time so that you can even promote them ahead of time. Collaborate. Guys, podcasters love to collaborate. What we're doing right here in Launch You is a collaboration. Apostle Colette speaks and imparts and shares and gives you a download. I'm speaking, imparting, and sharing and giving you a download. It's a collab. We are just having a back and forth in a podcast studio. Encourage reviews and ratings. Remember in part 1 I said, don't be afraid of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Receive all feedback as fast and as best as you can. Don't be offended if someone said, I hate your show. It's terrible. You guys are just like the worst people ever. It's like, hey, brother, I accept that, but you're not my fish. Bye. You're not my fish. I have 1,000 other fish in the pond. You're not one of them. That's okay. I don't mind. I receive what you have to say, but I'm not going to be offended and then just stop podcasting. Then what was the purpose of the podcasting? Now you're just letting your offense dictate what God has ordained you to do. And that was to podcast, to reach the thousands around the world because of one bad fish. Okay? But never forget, you want those reviews. You want to know what you can improve on. For example, if you get a review that says, Michael, you stutter and murmur and jump from point to point way too quickly. You know what? I can respect that. I need to slow it down. I need to double back. I need to regroup. I need to redo so that I understand that they are getting my message across and that they are receiving what I have to say. Very good takeaway. Very good encouragement. I know what to do. You also get testimonials and takeaways that people love it and they are enthused by what services you offer. Accept it. Talk about it in your next episode. Make it a big celebration for those that are already part of the community, those that are already in the care stage. Make it a big thing. This is where you can shout out. You can use these as references. These are just marketing tips from the Spirit right now. Karabasha. Build your email list, guys. The last point on anything that I'm going to die on my grave on is build that email list. You want an email list because you know what? Facebook can delete your church's content, your podcast's content. YouTube can fall away into an abyss and delete every single sermon that you've preached. But you know what they cannot do is keep the record of that email and you write it down and you put it into your own server because you have it now. You've exported that list. You have that email list where you can continue to nurture. Remember, you're going to be in the care stage right now. Nurture, nurture, nurture. Amen? Very good. Well, I know I shared a lot with you guys. I'm going to hand over to Apostle right now. I know we went a little bit over time. I do apologize, but I want you guys to succeed. This is Launch You. And in order to know where you're going next, you have to be launched into your next. So get ready to be imparted to this next series.
Boo, you guys, that was a fire hose, but you covered so much good territory, Michael. It's the kind of teaching that as you get going, you're going to say, what did he say again? And it makes sense as you begin walking it. But I want you to recognize something, especially for those of you who are in the room. It seems a bit overwhelming at first, but what it started to do, as Michael and I have been teaching you, we've been doing more than just giving you knowledge. We've been shifting your mindset. We've been shifting and challenging the way that you think. We've shifted your mindset from this is all the content I have and this is what I have to do to hang on a minute, what do they need and how can I reach them? How can I love God's people? How can I reach God's people? How can I maintain relationship with God's people? The biggest mistake that we make in ministry, especially as leaders in ministry, is thinking, I've got a great message to tell, instead of I have a huge need to meet. We think that it's up to our message to be excellent and not realizing that what makes it excellent is how it hits the mark. And we've challenged your thinking with that today, and you did a great job. You know, I love what he shared about the 178 countries and how when you're gonna be in a country, you can say, hey, I'm arriving. So this exact same thing happened to us when we went to Northern Ireland, is that I mean, you don't know everybody that writes in, and some people, you don't really know who's watching your posts. You don't know everybody that's listening. But we announced on our podcast, hey guys, we're going to be in Northern Ireland. We're going to be speaking at this particular church. We're doing a meeting. And everybody, because Northern Ireland is actually quite small, all of our listeners in Northern Ireland came to meet us at those meetings and introduce themselves to us live. That was like a highlight of my life, because, you know, you don't often get to do that. You just see, I mean, we had so many people in Malaysia and Singapore and Australia, and it's like to be able to go into a country like Northern Ireland, which is not very big, and to have our listeners come and meet us live and, you know, talk to us. I mean, they spoke to us like we were long lost friends, and you really felt that connection. It's like they knew us, they knew our voice. And you know, it was interesting, even as I began to speak to them, because we were always speaking to the one, it's like I knew them too. They were our listeners. I love what you shared, Mike. You know, you get those loyalists, they're your fish, they're your listeners. And it's a powerful experience, actually, when you meet them in person and you feel that familiarity, you feel that connection in the spirit, and you're like, oh yeah, you are mine. And I am nurturing you, and I am taking care of you, and I am birthing something into you. And, you know, that podcast, let me tell you something, it opened up an entire ministry tour in Denmark. That connected us with leaders there. And another testimony was that through that podcast, one Christmas, somebody just wrote in and said, I'm giving you guys a $10,000 check just to support. We love what you're doing. And we would often get that just out of the blue. I'm not saying that's why you should do it, but I am saying that people we didn't reach on YouTube, people we didn't reach in our book, but we just reached through our podcast, they only knew our voice through our podcast. We reached a whole new stream of fish. I love that you use the word fish, because it's really, really true that I just didn't know were out there. And so as you're taking the step of boldness, it's a really great place to start. For those of you who are authors with me, like Cheryl and Angela, that I'm seeing on you that are writing with me on a more regular basis, what's awesome is that you can do like Mike said and use your material as topics for your podcast, because I had so many books. It was so easy for me to set my podcast schedule. I just went through all of my books and I just did the whole year in advance. Of course, the Holy Spirit always shifted it. Sometimes Craig and I would get on the mic and I'd say, this is what we're talking about, Craig. And then you know what my husband's like. He would just change the topic by the Holy Spirit and upset me, my little analytical structure there. And that would usually be the most anointed podcast ever, you know. But you already have materials. And as you, especially you, Angela, as you're busy writing your book on being unmasked, just that every chapter takes away a different kind of mask. I mean, your first chapter has like a whole list of podcasts that you can share about. You see, in a book, you don't want to labor that story too long. In fact, we've even had to pull some stories out, right? Because it didn't add to the main storyline of that one book. But here's the cool thing about a podcast is that you can tell all the stories. See, with those of you I'm helping write testimonials, it's challenging because you can't put your whole story, it bulks the book up. Nobody wants to read every last detail. And like I said, it detracts from the storyline and the thread that you weave in. But in a podcast, you can take rabbit trails. You can add that story. You can do the, how they do a behind the scenes. How's it when they do the pre-story? What's it called again, Jessica? When they go ahead and tell the story before the story. You can do that in a podcast. You can take them right back at the beginning. Yeah, the prequel. They the worst day of her life with this media. She's like, I'm tired. It's Friday. You should see her face. It looks real pitiful. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a picture of her face, and then I'm going to post it because I love her so much. Yeah. Listen, if you want to be in the room and get personal coaching from me, for those of you online, myapostolicmentor.com, get in here, or go to apostlecolette.com if you want apprenticeship so I can work with you one-on-one, okay? And Cheryl, you, even though you haven't had your video on, I know that you're listening. I love the idea of really working a podcast with you. You've got so much presence, and I love all the topics. And here's something that you could even do. This is something that worked for me too, because I'm better in speech. You can do a podcast and then create a blog from it. We did that and it was fantastic. It increased all the subscriptions to our podcast because when I did the teaching in our podcast, we did the blog of it and then sent people to the podcast. So it's like they fed into each other, which means now my mailing list grew. And because it's a blog, I could keyword it. A lot of people stumbled onto it through the search engines, right? And then ended up on my podcast as well. So there's so many different ways to market it. For those of you who are with us, who are my apprentices, I will keep working through and I will refer you back to this teaching that Mike gave. Mike, what I really liked is how you gave each of, week 1, do this, week 2, do that. You know what's crazy is that we did that subconsciously just by the Holy Spirit. And I'm going through all the podcast lessons that we did, and we did exactly that. And that's why it just grew so very quickly. I want to end by saying this. Don't underestimate the power of your voice. I said to Craig, I said, baby, we're not razzle dazzle, you and I. We're just not. Craig and I, we're real down to earth. I'm dramatic, but that's not the same as razzle dazzle. I'm not going to be all fancy when I talk, and I'm very practical. And I was like, is that really what people want to hear? You look at so many other leaders and the way they're so charismatic, they so this and that, and you think, but you know something, not a single one of those leaders out there have my voice. And I was created for you. I was created for you. My voice, the timbre of my voice, strikes something in your spirit that others don't, because you're my fish. You're my apprentice. I was made for you and you were made for me, and we're on this journey together. And with that being said, I do have a special announcement here for those of you who are watching. We are about to launch a new podcast, and it's called The Apostles Digest. We've already recorded the introduction and the first episode. I have 2 episodes already. It's going to be a weekly podcast. And for those of you who are along this journey with us, I need you to understand it. Firstly, I'm doing it because it's time that Craig and I are more available to our audience again. We took a hiatus there for a year or 2. It's about a year and a half. We took our break. But we're back. We're back and we're bigger than ever. And we're bringing Apostles Digest to you shortly. I will announce the launch. But for those of you who are my apprentices, please watch closely. I am very deliberate in what I'm doing and how we launch, in what we're teaching, in how we're teaching it, and in how we're growing our audience. And as we grow, there's things I'm going to test with marketing. There's things I'm going to test. There's There's principles the Holy Spirit's going to give us that we're going to try out. And as we do it, we'll pass that on to you. So you know how you need to do market testing? Well, we're your market testers. And as we learn, we pass that on to you so you guys can grow your audience as well. I've been doing that a lot already with mailing list growth, with podcast growth, and now we'll be increasing it in all the other platforms. And as we learn, we pass it on to you. Very deliberate in every single Facebook post I make. I'm deliberate in every email I send out. And Mike got it right. I'm married to the analytics. I'm married to the analytics. I want to see where my audience is, how they're doing in that particular realm. And that's why I sent out so many emails the last while with very challenging, I want very engaging subjects. I'm playing with an idea for those of you who are following me here, for those of you who are also on Fivefold X. Is email dead? I'm busy studying that theory, because even though I'm glad to have the email list, I've started to recognize that people would sooner read email for administration than they would for personal connection. Email is becoming like junk mail in our real life. And people are switching for Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, engaging platforms. And so I'm busy studying that in our own experience and shifting with the tide as well. And as I shift, you can be sure I'll be passing that on to you. For those of you who are my apprentices, like Cheryl and Angela over here, you guys get that in our one-on-ones whenever we meet. But if you want more of that side of thing, more of the marketing, and as we're growing there, I really recommend that you guys sign up to our Fivefold X Academy. The X standing for multiplication, multiplying your metrics online, the analytics, getting your websites up, getting your podcast sorted, getting your email list. In fact, I'm going to even have Rebecca on. She's going to do an entire study just on Shopify. We're going to do an entire study on how to have a Zoom meeting, how to administrate it, how you should announce it, how to have your intros, how to set up your splash screens. Everything we do, we're going to teach you how in the Fivefold X. So launch you. I'm staying focused on your voice. After this podcasting, I'm going to segue back to your writing skills. So I'm going to accelerate you in blogging. That will be our next one. We're going to speak on blogging next. And so this, in launch you, I'm going to do a lot more emphasis on that. But on the business side, the ministry business side of getting yourself seen online is going to be more for the Fivefold X program. And before you think it's too expensive, I have introduced a monthly fee for $50 a month per program for those that want to jump in on that, which is way more affordable for everybody. So with that being said, I love you. Thank you for sticking around for my apprentices. I saw you making notes. I'm very proud of you. When we meet, we're going to talk about this. Let's get your podcast structure set up. Angela, I know that you're coming to the end of your book, but I really want you to begin seriously thinking about a launch date for your podcast as well. There's absolutely no reason why you can't even already start launching there and use the podcast to get book sales later on. It's a fantastic marketing tool. And I think it would be healthy for you to begin putting your voice out there, says the coach who is putting a fire on one of my prize apprentices that I love more than all the world and needs that push to get out on that podium. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she does. Austin, were you going to ask a question? I was so sure. Huh?
In the live.
We're still live. No, that's fine. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's ask questions. I am more than happy to answer your question. Did Austin have one? Go ahead, please. Did he ask it? Oh no, I can't see.
No,
if he
sorry,
asked.
that was just a mistype. I'm driving
you
currently.
mistyped. Okay, no problem. All righty. With that being said, you guys have a fantastic weekend. Christy, I will see you on Monday, guys. I haven't even done laundry. We're packing for Tanzania. I was wandering aimlessly through Target before this meeting, and you know when suddenly you think, man, what was it I needed again? But I tell you, when I'll remember just before we fly. and then I'll end up having to buy it at the airport because that's just how I roll. When my husband, on the other hand, will have his bag packed with every little doofadat and whatnot that nobody really asked for. He'll end up giving some contributions to TSA, which almost always happens. Then I'm going to give him the, why did you bring that with? And then he's going to say, because you always forget. We've done this a few times. We just at the point in our marriage where we've come to accept that this is who we are. For those of you who are traveling, you're welcome to share your traveling woes with me. Please pray traveling mercies on us. We're taking Jessica along with us this time, so she has to suffer through. But I look forward to hanging with you, Christy, for May, who's out there. Next Gen Prophets are coming to take Tanzania by storm. Yes, thank you very much, Cheryl. I can't wait. I can't wait. We really feel so much anticipation in the spirit. We're going to go take the nations, guys. Mike, did the Next Gen Prophets reach Tanzania yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You better be announcing that we're going to be there.
We will. Aye, aye.
Love you guys and see you again.